For 35 years, Final Fantasy has dazzled us with its amazing characters and unique stories, spanning generations of gamers. Now I'm going to take a Final Fantasy content creator through a random Final Fantasy XIV dungeon, and we will discuss all things Final Fantasy. Welcome to Dungeon Run with Arrows. Welcome everyone to episode 1 of Dungeon Run with Arrows, the only Final Fantasy podcast recorded during a playthrough of a random Final Fantasy XIV dungeon. I'm your host, Arrows, and tonight we are traveling to Primal Leviathan, where we are going to be teaming up with SoloisTV to learn about his love for Final Fantasy and his experience with the franchise as we progress through a Final Fantasy XIV dungeon. Let's go. Alrighty, welcome in. We have landed safely on Leviathan, and we have joined up with Solois. How are you doing tonight?
What's up? It's good to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. And welcome to Leviathan.
Primal, the most popular, one of the most popular data centers.
Yeah, we joined this one by complete accident. We just thought Leviathan was cool, me and my brother, and this is just where we landed.
Nice, nice. So when we talked earlier, you said you didn't have a specific dungeon that you cared to do. So
no, not at all. Whatever you
want. We'll definitely duty roulette that up. I'm asking everybody who I do this with if they want to like do a specific dungeon. If not, then we'll just duty roulette. My only only rules are not an alliance raid, because those things can get hectic as hell. And not a trial or a leveling area, because that leveling could put you into trials, and those really end a lot. Those end way too quickly.
They do.
So
they absolutely do.
I figured I'll let like level 50, 60, 70, 80, or if we do it with like higher levels, the expert dungeons would probably be the way to start this. Oh wow, we get it right away.
Well, that was really
because I'm a healer,
and this will give me my daily roulette. So
that's exciting.
I'll take it.
So interestingly enough, when we first met, your name was not SoloisTV.
It was
Starcaller Soloist, if I remember correctly.
It was Starcaller Soloist. That's right.
You raided me while I was doing one of my rare Super Mario Sunshine streams.
I think at the time I was streaming Mario Sunshine for the 1 or 2 times I actually streamed.
Yeah. But yeah, it was really cool. So it was Final Fantasy. Is Final Fantasy XIV your first introduction into the series, or were you a Final Fantasy gamer beforehand?
Oh, I've been a Final Fantasy gamer since I was about 9 years old. I've been playing. This has been my favorite franchise all throughout my entire life, basically, of games. This is just every Final Fantasy game. I've not beaten them all, but I've beaten almost all of them. I absolutely adore this series. I started playing when I was 9, ironically enough, with Final Fantasy 9.
Nice.
And it has been not only my favorite franchise since then, but it has been my favorite game of all time.
Feels like our tank is.
Yeah, he's got the zoomies.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine.
All right, caught up. Yeah, but Final Fantasy 9, I started playing it when I was 9 years old.
That's awesome.
I fell in love with the game. It took me forever to beat it because I was only used to playing games like Super Mario World and Sonic. So the most complicated game at that point I'd played was Pokemon Gold. So that's that's saying something.
Yeah.
So it took me a really long time to get figured out what I was doing on the game. But once I did, oh man, it changed my life. And since then, every new Final Fantasy game that's come out, I've been right there to play it on day one.
Yes, I'm the same way. Like I think the only one that I did not play on day one. Oh gosh, why am I being attacked? Go away. I think the only one that I did not play on day one was like 13. Like that's nothing against 13. I think 13 doesn't. I think 13 gets a bum rap. Like it's not the best game in the series. Don't get me wrong. But I think it tried to introduce a lot of cool stuff, and I think that a lot of that is why 8 is my personal favorite.
Yeah.
Because it tried to do something cool, and I think we're 13. I think we're 13 like stumbled a little bit. Oh my gosh, this guy is taking so much damage.
This tank is, he's got the zoomies for sure.
He's taking so much damage.
I definitely, so I have to admit where I'm at fault. I am definitely guilty of the party giving 13 too much flack. It is easily my least favorite in the series. And I haven't, so where I say like, I owe it a little bit more, I've not played it since around release.
Yeah.
I didn't get to it right away either. I played it about a year after. And I made it to Grand Pulse before I had just had enough.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, it doesn't click with me nearly as much as it did with other people.
Respectable. I respect that.
Yeah.
Is 9 your favorite in the series?
Oh, absolutely. It's a wide margin too.
Yeah.
My three favorite in the series are 9, 15, and 7 in that order. That's my unpopular opinion of Final Fantasy fandoms. That 15 is my second favorite.
I mean, I enjoyed 15. My only real issue with 15 is that near the end it got really linear. Like,
it did, and that's my issue with the first half of 13 too. But it did get super linear towards the end. But it's just the character.
Oh god, yeah.
15,
it has by far like
gosh.
the best character development in a long time.
Oh, it was so great. But 7's Final Fantasy 7 is a classic. But Final Fantasy 9 is just, it's leagues above those to me. It has so much heart to it.
Yeah.
The storytelling's amazing. The character development is unheard of. It's just such a fantastic. I could talk about that game alone for hours.
Final Fantasy 7 is actually my JRPG origin story.
Really?
Yes. I had played RPGs like on the Super Nintendo, like not like big ones like Mario. Like I say not big ones, and I automatically mention Mario RPG. But like I had played like dabbled in the RPG genre, but it wasn't until like the PlayStation 1 and Final Fantasy 7 that I really fell in love with the genre. And honestly, without Final Fantasy 7, I probably wouldn't have gotten into Pokemon as big as I have.
Oh, really?
Because I wasn't like I liked RPGs, but I wasn't like the biggest fan of them. And 7 definitely put me on that path. So I definitely owe a lot of my gaming memories to this franchise as a whole.
Oh, absolutely. 9 sent me down the. See, I'd played Pokemon Gold, but I was too young to know what I was doing a lot.
Yeah.
I kind of just leveled a Feraligatr to death. And
Yeah.
knew how to
I mean,
get
I'm
served,
pretty sure that's how
so-
everybody played Pokemon back in the day.
Yeah. So 9 sent me off to play the games. My brother's always loved Final Fantasy. So 9 sent me off to play. So this is actually the funny story. The first game I beat in the series was 9. The second game in the series I beat was 10-2.
10-2. Nice.
Not 10. I tried to beat 10 and I got horrifically stuck as a kid. I've beat it since, but back then I got stuck on the Seymour fight on top of the ice.
Yes.
If you play 10,
Yes.
I couldn't do it. It was too much. But since then, from there, I tried playing 8. I didn't get through 8. I got to the end of disc 3 as a kid. And 8's one of those games, because I run a podcast, a Final Fantasy themed podcast with my brother.
Yes.
And that's his favorite as well. And I've still to this day not beaten 8, which I really want to change. But if you ever hear me on air, and I hope he doesn't hear this, I'm always purposely talking horribly about 8, but I don't mean anything I say. It's just one of those banter things. 'cause he
It's
does the
sibling
same thing
banter,
about
right?
9.
Sibling banter.
Absolutely. So 8's one of those games I really want to finish. I did try playing it in 10, but it was when I was around probably 12 or something, and I started really getting into the classic games.
Yeah.
So from there, I went to play 4 and 6, and those are the two behind 15 and 7. Those games are just fantastic.
In my opinion, Final Fantasy 6 is the best in the series.
I will agree with that opinion 100%. 9 is my favorite, but I think 6 is the strongest.
Oh yeah,
just
like
Final Fantasy
6.
game ever.
6 is such a good game, and I know when I was in high school, a lot of people had this debate about whether it was like 6 or 7 was the best one. I was like, guys, it is like 6 hands down.
Oh man, 6 is so special. Like we recently guested on another podcast where we did a March. I say recently, it was back in March. we did a March Madness bracket for Final Fantasy games.
Nice.
And 6 ended up winning. So of the people who were there voting on it, that just speaks volumes to it. It's a special game.
100%, 100%. Like everything about 6 is so well written. Like the character work is very good. Oh wow, I'm getting all the good stuff. We're looting all the.
Oh, I need to. Yeah, I need to make sure I loot on this stuff. But yeah, 6 is. I think when I went down that rabbit hole of playing those old games, 4 was the first one I beat. And I thought the Super Nintendo games are short and easy, because Super Nintendo, Final Fantasy 2 or 4 for us. The American version is like a cakewalk.
Oh yeah.
And then I played Final Fantasy 3 or 6, and oh my gosh, it's far harder.
Oh yeah.
But,
even like from the start, 6 is like a vastly like more difficult game than 4. 100%.
Oh yeah. So 4 and 6 also have another fun bit of history for me. The funny thing about it is that Soloist, and not a lot of people know this, so I'm just going to disclose it here. Soloist is actually not my first venture into the YouTube world.
Oh, really?
My first venture, yes. So back when I was about 13, I was an 8th grader, okay? And this is when I was playing Final Fantasy 6 and 4 for the first time.
Yeah.
I had a Let's Play channel.
Ooh.
Where I attempted a Let's Play of Final Fantasy 4 and 6, and I actually have over like 250 uploads on that channel where I had completed 4 and 6.
That's amazing.
And 1 or something. I was a little kid. It's just so cringy, but I look back and I think the things I'm saying are obviously cringy because I'm young.
Yeah.
And I'm trying so hard to be funny. But then again, I look at it like, you know, the production and audio were like, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
So that's just, I left them up on YouTube because it's just a fun part of history for me.
I've actually always wanted to do a Let's Play of a white mage only run in Final Fantasy 1.
Oh, I started doing that like last
because
month.
like early game, it's one of the hardest hardest run throughs until you get like into the actual like white mage spells that do damage. It is one of the hardest runs.
I gave up. It was so annoying. It was uber annoying.
So I wasn't like when I started when I thought about this, I wasn't sure if I was going to stick like with like just Bard, or if I was gonna like mess around with other classes. And then I was like, I might as well.
Yeah. I thought about going on my warrior, but I didn't think I'd be able to talk and tank very well.
See, and that's where I was like with healing, and I'm actually kind of surprised. Cause I've healed on stream a couple times before, but like never when I'm like in an actual like conversation.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. I tanked on stream a little bit, but I'm not reached max level tanking either, so I'm not even sure how that's gonna be.
There we go. And I don't actually think I've ever healed on this dungeon before.
I don't
remember this dungeon.
I don't remember it at all.
I mean, I feel like I've done it before because like the first boss we were on felt familiar. But like,
it did a little bit.
I don't remember this dungeon.
And see, that's the kind of the cool thing about 14 is like, so before 14, I've been a World of Warcraft player my entire life. Like not my entire life, obviously.
Oh,
like,
I remember this one now.
Since I was a 7th grader, I've been playing that game, and I still play it.
Yeah.
But one game this game does infinitely better than that game is that this game keeps its old content relevant.
Yes.
By making you do the roulettes.
Yes.
That game just leaves our old content kind of to die. Oh, I remember this dungeon now. I remember this part.
Yeah.
But it also, it's kind of hard too, because you'll randomly get a dungeon like this. Like I've been doing 50, 60, 70 roulettes every day.
Yeah.
And I've not gotten this one. I'm thinking, where?
Yeah, it's like, where am I?
Yeah. So it gets a little hard there.
But no, I definitely, and they've actually gone back. I don't know, like, if you've done a lot of A Realm Reborn dungeons lately, but they've actually gone back and they've changed a bunch of the A Realm Reborn dungeons.
I know they've changed MSQ, and they've definitely changed the MSQ roulette for the better.
Yeah. But like,
because that Praetorium used to be ungodly.
Yes. But they made like some subtle, like some of them are subtle changes, and some of them are like massive changes. Like they almost 100% reworked Copperbell Mines. So like you don't get to that, and you don't have that annoying boss fight anymore where you have to like get the blast caps.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, and they like and the Stone Vigil is another one that I've been recently on, and they've changed that one too. The second boss fight is different now.
Really?
So yeah, so like you no longer have the you no longer have to shoot the tanks at Ishbound or whatever the last dragon's name is. I think it's Ishbound.
Oh, I did realize
Yeah.
that when I did that the other day. I thought something was weird about it, but I couldn't put my finger on it because it had been so long.
Because I was going through as a tank, and I was doing duty roulette. I'm like, oh man, I'm not looking forward to the second boss fight on this. So I've tanked in Stone Vigil like once or twice before, and I'm like, I am not looking forward to. Did I just come from this way? No, I didn't. I'm not looking forward to. Nobody grabbed the airstone.
I sure did not. Oh, poop.
This is where we're at. Like it's been so long, right?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, because there's still more fights.
I
That's why.
There have been so many like updates to 14. I'm actually coming back from a really long break from 14.
Yeah.
I just finished Endwalker like 2 weeks ago.
I love Endwalker.
It was fantastic.
Sorry, I didn't mean to continue.
Oh, you're absolutely fine. I do gotta say though, it's my second favorite expansion because Heaven's Word was still just that good. I still love Heaven's Word so much, but Endwalker was a fantastic end to the story. Like, it was pretty great.
So, like my main issue with Endwalkers, I don't really feel like for me personally, and it could be different for other people. I don't really feel like it left a lasting impression on me, like Shadowbringers did.
Okay, that's a good point. Shadowbringers was so bold. I see what you're saying with Endwalker for a large part, but everything in the like last area.
No, yeah, like the last area, 100%.
That was all just insane. Like the music.
Yeah.
Thinking everyone was dying.
Yeah, no, like 100%.
It was.
Especially because like going into Endwalker, Yoshida was like, "Hey, don't get too attached to your favorite characters." And it's like, "No, you can't kill my favorite characters. What are you doing?"
It's kind of funny he says that looking back, like,
yeah, it's like
none of them died.
It's like, but like in that moment, you're like, well, this is the end. It's like we didn't know exactly how much more content they were gonna do for this series after that point. So it's like, are they all actually just gonna die?
See, I thought they would for sure kill. So like going in, if you had to predict that they were gonna kill one Scion, who do you think it was gonna be?
Honestly, Yashala.
Really?
Because in all the other expansions, somehow the Scions got like some kind of growth to them. Like Thancred in Shadowbringers really grew with his relationship with Reem. In Stormblood, in my opinion, was all about Lys and Alize, and then obviously Lys leaves at the end, or at the end of the core of the game. And like Alpha Node has had the most immaculate character growth of any game.
Gosh. He's my favorite Scion.
And so honestly, Yashala was the only one who was still alive that didn't really have, in my opinion, massive character growth. And so I'm like, she's gonna die.
She's gonna get character growth and die.
I'm like,
I can see that.
I'm like, and even still, she didn't really get that much. Or Krill. Krill is my backup one.
Yeah. Oh, like her or Tataru, just something super unfair and unexpected would have been heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I had this big theory going on, because the whole big idea behind Xenos is that his like entire existence, right, was just wanting to fight.
Yeah.
Like that's all he wanted. Oh my gosh, his bar keeps coming closer. Like that's all he wanted was to fight. And in Garlemald at the end, when Alice said to him, because she always has to fit in the last word, she said all of that stuff about you'll always be alone, he'll never fight you. I thought for sure there was going to be a twist that he was going to kill Alize to keep you mad enough to fight.
Yeah, because like they really, especially in like Stormblood, they really push like your relationship with Alize.
Yeah.
And Alizé actually becomes my favorite Scion in Stormblood. Pre-Stormblood, ironically enough, Yashala was my favorite Scion. And but like Stormblood, I was like, I am all in on Alizé and Stormblood. Like,
I really liked Lise in Stormblood.
and Lise too.
I'm really
like,
sad I'm really sad she wasn't in it more after them. But I've always really liked Justinian and Alphino and their friendship.
yeah, like Alphino is definitely like in my top like 5 Scions. Like, I think that's like all there is left, really.
Yeah, like Thancred's kind of like the Han Solo of the group. Like, not really anyone's favorite, but everyone loves him.
Yeah. I mean, Thancred post Heaven's Ward.
Yes.
It was like really good. Like, I did not like Thancred pre Heaven's Ward.
See, I can't even tell you I remember Thancred too well, because the last time I played A Realm Reborn was like in 2019.
Yeah. It's like
I'm actually gonna start a series on my stream called A Realm Retold and make an alt and just level through MSQ again.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. I'm actually replaying through the MSQ myself on Diablos, Crystal Diablos, and it's
oh, cool.
So that's like I'm meeting Alphinote again for the first time, and I'm like, man, he was such a dick in this expansion.
I thought for sure Alphino was evil when he first got introduced.
Right? Because he's like, he's so like,
sure.
He's so. I guess I should give a player commendation.
I think I gave one out. I don't remember.
I got one. But yeah, like he's such a dick. Like,
yeah, it's so funny.
And
like
they both are, but you don't really see Alizé in the first expansion, unless you do the Coils of Bahamut.
You don't really see Alizé until like
Heaven's Ward patches. Heaven's Ward patches with like the Warriors of Darkness. Alizé plays a more like critical part, but like you don't really see a lot of her in like, you don't really like, but Alphino plays such a huge role in like the whole series, and he's such a jerk at the start of it, and it's like, but then as Heaven's Ward progresses, it's like, oh my god, he's actually getting tolerable, and then like as we get further, it's like he's actually like really awesome, and like to go back,
I loved his character development.
To go back
so
and
much.
see him again in The Realm Reborn, I'm like, wow, you were a dick in this expansion.
It's kind of like, I've not beaten 8, but I know the story. It's kind of like following 8 and beating it and being like, Squall is absolutely my favorite character. Then you restart it immediately, and you just get the whatever and the like not talking to anybody. It's like so cringe, but it's kind of speaks to the writing of the game almost.
Yeah.
It's just kind of super
Yeah,
cool.
so one last question before we go. How has Final Fantasy influenced your life outside of gaming?
Absolutely. So I'm actually going to attribute Final Fantasy IX and my favorite anime, One Piece, because they're pretty much one and one the same almost. Final Fantasy IX has just taught me a lot, especially it was very good that I got to play it at such a young age too, because I played it when I was 9 and I was still learning how life worked. Obviously my parents had taught me a lot of good morals. I was very lucky to have good parents that did that, but I still was like struggling to grasp the things that are truly important in life, right? So 9 taught me, because the main character Zidane is just at the beginning of the game, he is just this womanizing just jerk, right? He is just good for nothing. He's a thief, he's a criminal. And throughout the game has such an emphasis on friendship and just coming together and just being with your friends and relying on them. So have you played 9?
Yes. I am very, very familiar with 9.
Good. So there's an act at the end of disc 3 when Zidane pretty much just gives up on everything. It's a are not alone part, which is still like, that song gives me chills every time I hear it.
100%.
It's that part that emphasizes that his friends are there with him, even if he doesn't want them and he's pushing them away, they're still trying to force themselves in. And at the end, Dagger is able to bring him back into being himself. It's stuff like that and those kind of things that really emphasize friendship above all. You can do anything if you're with a friend. It's such a cliche thing, and I think anybody would say this because it's been done a million times, the whole friendship is power thing. But when you're truly that young, it's kind of life-changing, because I was just so off to myself, so distanced. I just did everything by myself, whatever. But that got me to realize I need to rely on friendship, and I can't do everything by myself. And the game is so lighthearted. I got a lot of my sense of humor from Zidane.
Yeah.
I got a lot of my confidence from Zidane, because I don't count myself as a confident person, but I'd be a mess if I hadn't had kind of that weird video gamey role model growing up. And just Vivi's story about how he's trying to find a purpose to live, and he's found out, oh, my purpose to live the whole time has been my friends. It has heart that no other Final Fantasy game has.
I agree.
In my
I
opinion.
agree.
It has a different kind of heart none of them have, because they all have great stories and emotional stories. But Final Fantasy IX story is just a happy emotional story that just is about bringing people together with just friendship. And it sounds so cliche, but it's truly been life-changing to me. And I've applied a lot of that to my work ethic as streaming. I've been trying to make content since I was in 8th grade, as I said, but now since I seriously gave it a serious start back in 2020, I think.
Yeah.
When I gave it a serious start, I bring on my friend every week for a stream with him. I do podcasts with my siblings. I'm not doing it alone because I won't succeed alone.
Exactly.
So it's really been like, you are not alone. Like,
exactly.
it's just saying that to myself. It's changed my life. I hate to get sappy, but
no,
like,
it's and that's the thing. Like, I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, it's just a video game. It's like, no, like,
absolutely
video
not.
games, when they're done right, can inspire you. And I know, like, a lot of people put like bad raps on games for like when something happens like in the real world, and like, yes, that's always going to be there, but there's not enough focus. There's not enough focus on the positives of video games. Like, I want to be the best at everything I do, and that comes from like Final Fantasy and Pokemon and, like, you know, Legend of Zelda, to never give up, to always keep pushing, and stuff like that doesn't get, I feel like in mainstream media, stuff like that doesn't get emphasized enough.
It doesn't at all. Video games have the same power TV. And here's the thing about video games. They have the same power TV, music, movies, all of this stuff, art. It has all of the same power as this, plus some, because it's all of those mediums mixed together, added with interactivity. So it's much more complex than any of those. So why is it not held to the same standard as those?
Exactly.
It's an interesting argument that not sure why we're still having, but that's just
100%.
That's just the close-mindedness of you live in Canada,
yeah,
right?
I do.
That's just the close-mindedness of North America.
Yeah.
Continent.
No, 100%. I agree completely.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for being my first Final Fantasy content creator on Dungeon Run. Where can we find you on your social medias?
You can find me at SoloisTV on Twitter, SoloisTV on TikTok as well. It's just Soloist and SoloisTV on Twitch, obviously, where I'm streaming right now. It's just Soloist on YouTube, though. I also run 2 podcasts. I run Highwind Herald, which is a Final Fantasy themed podcast where we cover Final Fantasy 14 and every news that recovers Final Fantasy, so be sure to check that out. And I run a podcast called Sibling Gibberish with my sister. That's just exactly what it sounds like. It's nonsense. It's something different every week. So that's a comedy podcast, so make sure you follow that one. And that's pretty much all I do. I do too much.
Love it. And remember, it's Soloist, not Solosis.
Hey, listen.
I saw that tweet the other day, and I'm like, you know what? I think the first couple times I was talking to him, I was calling him that too.
Hey, you're not the. I think everybody does. It's my fault for picking a name, so I should just change it at this point. It's so funny. That little Pokemon's like skyrocketed up
right
the list.
There you go. Well, thank you for joining me. Thank you. It's been fun, awesome. We got through our dungeon together, and as always, stay safe. Have a good one, and hopefully we get to play some more in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Bye.